So I've never really cared very much about spooky season. Halloween doesn't mean much to me and I don't really read horror. So on my channel, October is Austober. So what does Austober mean? Well, I grew up in Australia. In 97, I became an Australian, so I have 2 passports. And I identify very strongly with Australia. And it occurred to me that I don't really know Australian fantasy authors. I saw an interview on Mike's book reviews with Jay Kristoff. Famous now, extremely popular right now. And just listening to him and his accent and his very Australian humor made me kind of miss Australia and want to pump up some Australian fantasy authors. So I decided October is Austober, as you can see. So what did I do? Well, Jay Kristoff made it on the list just because he was such a sympathetic individual in his interview. And I had a couple of other Australian authors in mind that I already knew about, but I wasn't sure of any more. So I wrote to Jay Kristoff and 2 others on Twitter. I just randomly atted them, and only one of them replied, which I'm not dissing them for that. I totally understand. Jay Kristoff is a busy dude, and the other people are busy. But one of them did reply, and that added a 4th book to my list, which actually I'm super looking forward to. So I decided to read these in order of thickness. So that means we're starting with The Counselor by E.J. Beaton. Beaton was actually the only one who replied to me on Twitter. And she recommended another author who is actually from my hometown where I grew up in Australia. So first we'll have The Counselor. And then the second one is the one that Beaton recommended to me, City of Lies by Sam Hawke. Sam lives in Canberra, and on Twitter, she pretty much only writes about the Canberra football team. And I'm really looking forward to reading this, although I have to be honest, I had never heard of it before, but I'm looking forward to it for one reason: the first sentence. The first sentence in this book is, "I was 7 years old the first time my uncle poisoned me." That raises a lot of questions and makes me really curious. Recently, Tori Talks on her channel, she did a charming piece on first sentences in books, and I want to do one of those too. And this will definitely be high up on my list already of first lines in books, even though I haven't read it. The other awesome thing about it is there's a quote on the front from Queen Hobb, as Scott the Bald Booktuber would say. Robin Hobb says of this book, "If the first line doesn't make you buy this book, you should hand in your fantasy lover's badge. You've been warned." So second book, City of Lies by Sam Hawke. Then I've heard a lot about The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I'm told it's actually pronounced Islington. A lot of people say Islington. I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Islington because it's kind of cool, like island. This is a chunky boy, and it's the beginning of a very chunky trilogy. So I may be getting myself in for some trouble, but Islington is an Aussie. So I'm reading this 3rd next month. And if all of that hasn't proved too thick for my slow reading skills, I will be getting to Mr. Kristoff. Everybody has probably heard about this book. Generally, I guess the whole glittery vampire thing kind of put me off the idea of vampires, but this actually sounds pretty awesome. It's also an extremely chunky book. We'll see if I can get all 4 of these finished next month. But number 4, Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. So just a quick video to let you know what's coming up in October. If you've read any of these, let me know what you think. down in the comments. I'd be really curious. I'm really looking forward to pretty much all of them. The Counselor was highly recommended by the Gwynn brothers. City of Lies, the quote on the cover from Robin Hobb sells it for me, and the first sentence completely sells it for me. The Shadow of What Was Lost and Empire of the Vampire are relatively famous and relatively well known. I've seen a lot of people talking about them, and they sound really good. Have you read them? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're interested in reading along with any of these, I'd love to do that. I am regularly on the Grimoire Discord. I'll link to it down in the description. And we could have a bit of a chat as we read along, if you're interested. And as always, keep reading awesome books, and I'll see you next time.